In this video, we're talking about a design style that kind of just looks like your printer spat out its test page, which most of the time you would just set that aside or throw it out. But if you ever taken a second to look at it, you might actually say that it looks pretty cool. That's utilitarian design. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about this style so you can start making your own utilitarian designs, whether for POD, branding, or social media, or maybe you just want to learn some new design skills to expand your portfolio and your skills. We're going to start with what utilitarian design is, show you what it looks like, and list 5 core elements or characteristics that make it what it is. Number 5 is really what makes it, so make sure you stick around because I have some really cool examples to show you. But of course, I'll be sharing some examples throughout and where I got them so you can use them as references for your own designs. But I'll even do you one better. I'll show you some templates that you can actually use yourself and edit to help get you started. So, what is utilitarian design? It's raw, structured, and it's industrial. It's been showing up everywhere from product packaging to branding and apparel. And while it may look kind of chaotic at first glance, the best examples are far from random. They're deliberate, calculated, and full of visual hierarchy. And it's just not in a traditional way. And like most design styles, utilitarian design didn't just appear out of thin air. I'll give you a second to guess where it's from. If you said the utilitarian movement, you'd be correct, and that should not be surprising. So the design style itself draws from the concept of utilitarianism, which was born from these two guys, Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. The movement was all about creating the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And Wiki describes it as an art concept that argues for the products to be designed based on the utility. While at the time this applied to products in design terms, it means prioritizing functionality, efficiency, and practicality over decoration. It's the whole form follows function mindset of the Bauhaus movement. And you can see what it looks like here in these templates. Side note, we also have a video on the Bauhaus movement, so if you're into expanding your graphic design / art knowledge, definitely give that a watch. And you need to keep in mind, during the time of the utilitarian movement, which was in the late 1700s to early 1800s, the Industrial Revolution really ramped up, so mass production needed designs that were easy to make and easy to read. So the modern utilitarian style we know today has the vibe of mass production. It pulls inspiration directly from the prints being produced at the time, specifically tickets, product labels, and even patents. Today, designers have continued to use and update this style, taking that stripped back functional visual language and pushing it into more experimental and stylish territory. Even taking inspiration from ingredient labels, plane tickets, and other things with a strictly functional purpose like washing machine instructions on clothes. And as we go through each of the characteristics, you'll see an intentional play with imperfection, breaking layouts and scattering elements, so it's not just purely functional anymore like it would be for a patent or a label. And that's what makes modern utilitarian design so fun to work with. It's functional at its core, but it allows you to break some rules and experiment. So now let's get into those 5 points. And to illustrate each of them, I'm going to show you some examples. I like the ones I showed at the start, and you can actually recreate a lot of these looks right in Kittl using some specific templates, fonts, and symbols, which I'll point out along the way. Number 1, the layout. This is the most obvious thing you'll notice in utilitarian design. And like I've mentioned, it can be chaotic, but also balanced. Text and sometimes images are dispersed across the canvas and sometimes bleed into the edges. Other times there are large blocks of negative spaces. Sections are also often blocked off and separated by lines. It doesn't have to be a traditional centered composition. Instead, it can use an intentionally uneven distribution of elements so that your eye jumps kind of from one focal point around to the other. And broken up text is really common. So the headline might be split across lines in odd ways or even sliced into 2 columns with an image between. It's a way of disrupting the normal reading flow to make the viewer very engaged. And even though it looks scattered, it's still grounded. But you might ask how it stays aligned with the invisible lines or loose grid system that keeps it structured. Second, the symbols and graphic elements. This is probably my favorite part. Barcodes, arrows, lines, and other types of icons you might see on a package or an instructional manual. These are staples in the modern utilitarian design style, and they are pulled straight from industrial and commercial print language. So you'll see numeric codes, serial numbers, or even coordinates used purely for visual appeal. And they most likely don't mean anything in context, really. So arrows might point at nothing. Tiny icons, caution labels, or geometric shapes or graphs could be there, but they're just a decorative tool. Well, they're not actually displaying anything. And these are actually all templates in Kittl, so you can find them searching utilitarian or tags, but to just find the elements, go to the graphics feed and search symbols. You'll find a pretty much endless supply, and a ton of them will be free and match the style perfectly. So definitely give that a look. All right, next up, let's chat a little bit about photography. In utilitarian design, photos are usually black and white or extremely desaturated, and the subject matter tends to be industrial, urban, or product focused. So think machinery, architecture, sneakers on a concrete floor, or gritty street shots. And even when color is present, it's usually minimal and muted. It could be just a single accent or monochrome altogether. This keeps it simple and true to the OG style, which wouldn't have had very vibrant photos. For example, if we look at that Nike Blazer example, you notice the photos are clean product shots, but they're surrounded by technical text and barcodes. If you want to incorporate photography, but you don't already have a photo, you can just search utilitarian in the graphics feed and choose one from there. And now, related to this is our next point, color palette. Again, utilitarian design almost always sticks to just kind of black and white as the foundation, sometimes with a beige or an off-white background, so it's not as cold or bright as pure white. But if color is used, there are a few different ways this is usually done. There could be one accent hue, and it's used sparingly just to break up the composition a bit or emphasize an element. Or a color could replace your base color entirely, such as swapping out white for a muted red, like you can see in this example here. Or a single color could be used for the text rather than black, so making it kind of two-tone, pairing black with a color or off-white and a color. This restraint keeps the design focused on the layout and typography, but it also gives the work a basic printed quality, which is what we're aiming for. And if you're wondering what colors to use, typically the style uses greens, blues, red, yellows, and oranges. Your primary colors, essentially. Again, bringing us back to the basics. I'd recommend checking out some utilitarian designs on Pinterest and just screenshotting or downloading an image you like. Then you can drop it into Kittl. You can even just right-click, copy image, and Command-V, boom, paste it right there in your Kittl project. You can use the eyedropper tool to pull out color directly from your image, and boom, you have your color palette. And this has saved me just, hours on numerous occasions over the course of making lots of designs. And finally, we have the other most important quality in the utilitarian design, the typography. Let's go. So, utilitarian design is built on bold, often condensed sans serifs. This is the type of font that kind of demands attention, right? It's right up in your face, direct, and often all caps for the maximum appeal and impact. The headline is typically mixed with a tiny font that mimics product specs or fine print, and it's common to mix different sizes, weights, and even orientations within the same composition. Big block headlines paired with small, dense text blocks. Some layouts also incorporate monospace fonts, which look mechanical and really precise, which is a great choice. Essentially, you're gonna wanna go for fonts that have that printed, fresh from the press look. If you search utilitarian in Kittl under templates, you can open these and see what fonts they've used. The ones here that I personally like for the style are GT Getty Grotesque, I hope I'm saying that right, Sophia Sans Condensed, and Fleege Mono. And again, take a look at the monospace font sections for when you're creating your body text or large amounts of text at a time. You could even go super simple with a Helvetica or a Neuhaus Grotesque. I wouldn't complain. You could also go the more like digital realm option and a retro typography like Ryko Mood or FT88 family, which is a cool pixelated option. All of these are in Kittl, so just jump in. All you need is an email to make a free account, and then you can search for these in the font menu. And to loop back into layouts, remember that your text should be really well structured. So the hierarchy is really important. And honestly, it's really straightforward. It takes some practice. Your heading or main text is large, taking up the most space. Your subheading is a medium size, and then your accent text is small or surrounded with some, supporting elements, arrows, and little stars and stuff. Throw a little barcode in there. Just put a little barcode in there. These are the basic fundamentals of a hierarchy, and Utilitarian follows it to a T. So a tip from me to you would be to experiment with this, and don't rely on traditional centered alignment. Just use the grids in Kittl and play around with it. You could use a template or reference an image as a base, like one of the ones I've shown you as your blueprint, and build your design from there. That'll help you learn the style better and save you a ton of time trying to figure it out. No one ever hit a target that they weren't aiming for, so I just like to use reference designs as a target. And that is utilitarian design broken down into our 5 core characteristics. So whether you're working on apparel, packaging, editorial spreads, or social content, you should be able to see it's a great style to learn and start using. It's highly impactful, bold, eye-catching, and just really cool. I personally really love the look on apparel right now. When I see someone with a utilitarian style hoodie or t-shirt or something, I just feel a little jealous. I'm like, where'd you get that shirt from, man? You stop. You can't gatekeep. Tell me where you got that shirt from. So if you want to start experimenting with it today, just jump into Kittl. You can find all the templates I shared, plus all the icons, graphics, typefaces, literally all of it is all in there. And a ton of it is free. Again, all you need is an email to make a free account. It's kind of a no-brainer. But if you want more, maybe you have a POD business or you get paid for some design work, you can create a pro or business account and get access to every tool, even the photos in the photo library and every font. Basically everything a designer needs, but all just packed into one subscription. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. And I'd love to know what you think about utilitarian design. Did I cover everything that you thought I was going to cover? You think I missed something, in my breakdown? Leave a comment down below and let me know. And if you've made something in this style, you can share it with us by tagging us on Instagram so we can check it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of these design style deep dives. We've got some really fun ones coming up, so seriously hit that subscribe button and don't miss out on the fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.